I'm definitely fascinated with the level of focus that you need to have for a round and what part nutrition plays. So Daniel, I'll pass it over to you if you want to delve into that area.
I obviously working as a performance nutritionist, I have seen the value in getting your nutrition right, and I know that it's something that you girls have been looking at for a long time, for certainly as long as 10 years, maybe very much ahead of your field. Maybe talk a little bit from how that came about, how nutrition is valued in your home, and how you've seen it influence your own performances.
It probably came from swimming a little bit at the start. We would have got a little bit of nutrition advice when we were swimming. And then Dad's own sort of interest in sport, he would have coached camogie teams and football teams. So over the years, he would have got advice from different nutritionists, stuff what they should be doing before matches and after matches and all that sort of thing. And then it kind of just spilled over to us playing our golf. And we would have always ate pretty healthily here at home. Dad's had sort of vegetables growing here on and off over the years. We've had hens for eggs. He had turkeys for years for Christmas and stuff like that. So I suppose that's one of the perks of being in the countryside. You can sort of grow your own stuff and be a little bit self-sufficient that way. And Mom's a good cook, so she's always there's always been plenty of choice here of what to eat. We'll never go hungry, but it's always been good food. And yeah, I suppose Anthony looked sort of for that edge, probably as well. Sort of golf is a game of very fine margins, and you're out there for a long time on the golf course. You could be out there anywhere between 4 to 6 hours maybe. So sort of concentration and energy levels is definitely a big thing. So that's where the sort of hydration and nutrition plays a big role. And you see a lot of people over the years that they're going great guns and then they come to the last 4 holes of a round and they just crash. People wonder what happens, and they don't lose their swing in those last 4 holes. It's that what went on before that sort of they're running on empty when it comes, especially in those, even the last day of a tournament. If it's, especially for us, I suppose in amateur golf, it's not so much in pro golf. In amateur golf, you play a lot of 36-hole rounds, and you could have 3 days of that back to back. And that's probably when we started looking into it a bit more of, okay, what do I need to do to make sure my body's in the same, or at least as close to the same state on day 3 as it was on that first 36 round on the first day.
That's absolutely amazing. When did you start to recognize its value? Because I still think within golf that people, generally speaking, there's not enough people are recognizing how powerful nutrition can be for your performance. And the next part of that, I'll let you speak about this, is give us a little bit of an insight to how you prepare.
Yeah, I suppose golf probably gets a bad reputation. Stereotypical people associate golf with the halfway house and the fellas drinking beer in their buggies on the way around and all of that, and eating their hot dogs and their burgers and whatever else. And I know when we started in different teams, and for some reason there was always, I don't know where it came from, but Jaffa cakes were always a big thing with golfers, having a roll of Jaffa cakes in your golf bag. I don't really know why. You would have seen a lot of girls with like Lucozade Sports and like very sugary drinks, and then like Jaffa cakes and Mars bars and stuff like that in their golf bags. And I suppose we then sort of started like having sort of, Mom would have made like oat bars and stuff like that for us. Some of your recipes, Daniel, probably. The ILGU, we would have had different nutritionists come in to talk to teams over the years. I mean, we were 12 and 13 going to some Irish camps. They used to do hydration tests on us in the mornings, so and stuff like that. So we definitely were conscious of it. And we probably didn't realise how important it was, but we definitely sort of were on the tracks of it.
You've got competition on a Saturday. How do you prepare? What's in your bag? What are the kind of things that you bring with you for a round? I
suppose the big thing for me, adjusting sort of from college golf to pro golf, is definitely managing the travel and the back-to-back weeks. And I'm sure in college golf it was you played a tournament, then you had a few weeks off, as opposed to us where we're playing Thursday through Sunday, getting on a plane or driving on a Monday, and then heading straight to an event starting again on Thursday. So it's a lot of golf it's a long and a slow sport, but I've kind of changed my thinking in my nutrition along with Sharon in that we don't really consider it as days. It's more time blocks. When there's a late tea time, say on a Thursday, and then an early tea time on the Friday, and making sure that window, we don't really treat them as 2 separate days. It's all one continuous block. If it's an early start, having enough to eat the night before, maybe a little extra the night before, to carry me over. I suppose I've been lucky that I don't get too nervous and that I can't eat the next morning, but at the same time making sure that there's enough sort of in the tank and on reserves for when I need it. And I think even Gary, I suppose, looking in my golf bag, was surprised by the amount of food that's actually in my golf bag. Where I'll have 2 Kinetica ready to drinks in my bag. I'll usually have a banana. I'll have 2 Kinetica bars in my bag as well. And then usually a sandwich of some sort, either with peanut butter maybe, or like a chicken or a turkey or something like that. And there's stuff I can control, I can bring with me, no matter where I go in the world. I like having the control over knowing it's going to be the exact same for every tournament, and I know what I should be eating, when I should be eating it, and why I'm eating it as well.
Absolutely amazing to talk to somebody with such a thorough plan and such a good, concise understanding of what's important. I think anybody who's listening, any young girls, any young guys, can learn so much from that.
I'd like to chat, I suppose, a little bit about Lisa's journey now. I mean, Lisa, you had to make a really difficult decision a couple of years ago. Tell us about that journey and who helped you to make the decision, and how did you know it was the right one for you to make?
The way I put it, there were a huge amount of high moments in my career, but towards the end, there were low moments where I kind of had to take a step back and kind of look at it from kind of an objective view and say, if anybody was kind of looking at my life right now, what advice would they give to me if you kind of take any sort of bias out of it that way?
Well, you can totally tell that you're pretty much made for the role you're in at the moment. So I just know from already dealing with you that you're a total natural. So it seems like it's been quite a smooth transition, which is amazing. What would you think, and we kind of touched on it earlier around, I suppose, young girls and getting into golf, and what are you doing to, I suppose, try and promote the sport for women? And maybe it's through Leona, maybe it's through your own initiatives. Are you involved in it from that angle?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think is a huge area that needs to be targeted over the next coming years. I suppose I look back to when Leona and myself started playing golf. We were the only 2 girls that played golf at our golf club. There was only lads to play with, and that I think that experience is would resonate with a lot of young girls that have kind of grown up through the years of trying to play on the boys' teams. Or the big difference we found was a lot of people maybe that might play golf during the summer and then they might drop off because their parents go back to work and probably don't have time to go out with them in the evenings. Whereas if you go to football training, you always have that group there and there's that sense of camaraderie. And I suppose that's the thing that Leona and myself had that probably a lot of people didn't have, that maybe didn't have an older sibling that was playing golf or a younger sibling that was playing golf. We had our own little team and you had that sense of company, so you didn't feel as lonely. So no, I think anything that we can do, I suppose, as part of Modest, we're trying to get kind of more visibility for ladies playing in golf. I suppose that's the great thing with Leona on the LPGA tour right now. Kind of young girls coming up through the ranks have someone to look up to and someone that they can see kind of playing professionally and can see doing well. And I suppose that's the key thing, even with the 20 by 20 campaign, is just getting that sort of visibility, whether that be in the media and the participation and even people volunteer. And I suppose if you actually can't see people doing it, you don't realize how possible it is. And I suppose if you the more you can get your story out there, I suppose if you look at Leona's kind of journey up through the ranks, we come from a very normal sort of background in rural Cavan, and if you can kind of make it and play elite level golf in Ireland, internationally, go to college in the States and play professionally, I suppose if you'd have told someone that 15 years ago, they probably would have laughed at you. Even the tournament that we run up in Northern Ireland, there's a huge emphasis on kind of having equality between men and women, giving women the opportunity to play professionally. I suppose one of my best memories probably playing golf was in the amateurs when we had the Irish Open in Killeen Castle back 2009, 10, 11, and the crowds we drew out there was incredible. I suppose that's the nice thing about Irish people. I think we love sport just as a nation, and you tend to rally behind the sports people. So I think it's just giving people that opportunity to see it. I suppose a lot of people are very quick to judge and be like, oh, well, the women's game, it's not as fast and there's not the same speed and power. I suppose Leona's never going to be like the build of a Dustin Johnson that's going to be carrying it 310 yards, but actually, it's amazing when people do come out to watch ladies playing tournaments, and I definitely heard that feedback whenever people do come watch. It's like, oh, I wish I watched ladies golf all the time. I wish this is the game I need to watch, because there's so many lessons I can take from this, whether it's the finesse that people use and the control and the quality of the short game and the dedication. And I suppose it's just kind of giving them that platform. And whether that's through social media, putting videos out there, I suppose the main thing I'd say to people is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and literally just ask. If you don't have anyone kind of that's playing golf in your house and you kind of want to get started, I suppose start small. It's the same way as we started. Everybody starts the same way. You start with 1 club, 2 clubs. You start chipping into an umbrella in the back garden into a little basket, and then you might move on to the driving range, and then you move on to pitch and putt. And it's all about keeping it fun and keeping it interesting. And I suppose the mindset you have to play any sort of competitive sport is completely transferable, whether that's golf or football or rugby. But ultimately, in 10 years' time, we'd like more people to be playing golf and more people to be sticking with playing golf. I suppose there's probably more demographics of people like teenage girls that we would like to kind of stick with it. I suppose even we saw when we were doing our leaving cert, you always get the talk when you go in 5th year. It's kind of, well, now girls, this is the sport kind of has to take a back seat now and kind of dedicate towards your studies. And I think that I hate that aspect of it. I think you're well able to do both. Fair enough, you can't do both to a completely elite level, but I suppose sport for us kept us sane and gave us a good break, and we got 2 very good leaving certs and still were able to play. Like I said it before too, the lessons you have and the values you learn and the skills you learn playing elite sport are completely transferable to kind of, whether that be in academics or the workplace or just everyday life.